Hello everybody, this is going to be a review of the first 2 days of World Cup qualifying in Africa. So we have 5 groups. The 5 winners are going to go to 2018, to Russia 2018. And we're going to, basically what I'm going to try to do is give a 15-minute recap of each group, starting with Group A. And I'm going to make 4 more videos after this, and we're going to go through all of World Cup qualifying in the CAF region. It also acts as a good preview for the Cup of Nations, which is going to begin in about a month's time, less than that, 3 weeks time, in Gabon. We kick off on January 14th, I believe, in Libreville. So there's that to look out for too. So without further ado, in Group A we have Tunisia, Libya, we have Guinea and the DRC, DR Congo. As things stand, Tunisia and the DR Congo are atop the group with 6 points each. Libya and Guinea have 0 points each. So obviously Tunisia and the DRC are heavy favorites from here on out. We'll start with Tunisia. I think they're the team I think I know best out of the 4. They brought in Henry Kasperzak, who was their coach from 1994 to 1998, and they did some good things with him back then. So Kasperzak, I believe they went to the '96 final in South Africa with him in charge, and he qualified them to the World Cup in 1998. He's a Polish legend. He used to play midfield. From my communication with him, he seemed very no-nonsense. I think he's like that with his players as well. He's somebody that a lot of pundits call pragmatic, others would call defensive. Tunisia right now, they play a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, however you want to see it, with Ali Maloul on the left, who plays at Al Ahly in Egypt. Probably been the best left back on the continent for some time now. I'm talking about the ones plying their trade in Africa. And on the right, they've got Hamdi Naguez, who's probably close to Maloul in terms of skill and talent. So you have 2 really good wing backs that can go both ways. And when you have 2 wing backs of that caliber, I think the players fit the system. So they decided to stick with that system. Central defense, you have Ayman Abdel-Nour, who plays for Valencia, who's one of the leaders of the team. He's been playing on the national team for a long time now. Very strong in the tackle. For me, sometimes can lose his head a bit too easy. And in defense, you can have Hamd Ali Yaqoubi, you can have Siam Ben Youssef. Bilal Mahsni played the two matches, but I don't think he's been called up for the provisional squad. He seems to be having some issues at club level. In midfield, they've had a bit of a problem since Hussein Ragid left. I believe he retired, but he's no longer playing in defensive midfield, and they've been forced to play with Mohamed Amin Ben Amour, who's their only real defensive midfielder. They have Jamel Sahi too, of course, who played for Montpellier and I think is now at Angers, but he's always injured, so they can't really rely on him. So they have Mohamed Amin Ben Amour, and they've been playing box-to-box midfielders beside him, the likes of Ferjani Sassi and Hamza Ahmed, for example. And they don't really have a striker too. That's their second problem. So for me, their problems are in defensive midfield and in attack. They have a lot of good attacking midfielders like Wahbi Khaziri, who for me is indispensable to the team, but also Naim Sliti, who came on against Libya in the second match and really turned things around. He's Lille's attacking midfielder, and he's really caught form now. Reminds me a bit of how Sofiane Boufal sort of went to Lille and is now obviously a force in attacking midfield for Morocco. So the strengths for Tunisia, you have a wealth of attacking midfielders who can do a job. You have lots of good different strikers, but we don't exactly know who's going to play. We don't know if it's going to be Harbawi, who hasn't been getting a lot of time with Anderlecht, or Ahmed Akaishi, who was this team's previous starting striker, but who's now plying his trade in Saudi Arabia, and we don't really know where he's at. He's been scoring goals, or you could go with the Tunisian league top scorer, Yassine Taha Khnisi, who started the game against Libya as well. So we don't know what's going on in the striking area. In defensive midfield, you only have Mohamed Amin Ben Amour, and that's crucial, because if you play that system with wing backs and the wing backs go up, you need those defensive midfielders to sort of cover in the wide areas. Ben Amour is the only one that's really covering because they play a box-to-box midfielder beside him. So that's something to look out for. In their match against Guinea, Las Bangura, who's for me a hell of a player, one of the most underrated wingers in Africa, he threatened them time and time again, finding space behind the wing backs, dragging Ayman Abdenour out or Bilal Mohsni out. And once you drag those central defenders out, obviously there's going to be more space in the midfield for trailing runners. So Tunisia have to, I think, sort that out going into Gabon. But they've been playing compact, they've been playing tactical football, they've been winning their matches, so not much to say. Key man for me is Wahbi Khazari, coach Henrik Kasperzak, a lot of experience. They play defensive football, they can go far in this group, in their group. But of course they have Algeria, Senegal and Zimbabwe, so it's a tough group. Wouldn't be surprised to see them go all the way, wouldn't be surprised to see them knocked out in the first round. Now, next team in Group A would be Guinea. Guinea, I think, are an interesting team because they have so much talent, but they can never get their talent on the pitch at the same time with a functioning coach. It's just really frustrating. So they'll give any team a game in Africa. They have Nabi Atara in goal, who's experienced, who's played in Cup of Nations before. They have the brother of Paul Pogba, Florentin Pogba, plays at Saint-Etienne, very experienced centre half. They have Kamara, another experienced centre half. They have Isiaga Sila on the left from Toulouse, El Sani Bangura on the right. In defensive midfield, for me, they have so much potential. They have Amadou Diawara, who's Guinean, but who hasn't been called up yet. I don't know if he's been holding off or what, but he's, I think he played for Bologna last season. He's playing for Napoli this season. He's displaced Jorginho, and he's been starting almost every match as a 19-year-old. And they also have Nebi Keita, who of course plays for Red Bull Salzburg in Germany, who's been a key factor in their ascension. So you have those two of the best, in my opinion, young defensive midfielders in the world. And can you just imagine if they had Paul Pogba to partner up those three in defensive midfield? So you have a very strong defensive midfield. You have Las Bangura, who I already said is probably one of the most underrated wingers in Africa. Every time I watch him play, he's always killing teams with his pace and his dribbling ability. You have Ibrahima Traore. You have Idrissa Sele, who plays for QPR up top. Ibrahima Traore, of course, who's the captain, who plays for Gladbach. So you have a very strong starting 11, who, for me, could possibly qualify for a World Cup if they hadn't got off to this poor start. And for me, the poor start, again, comes down to a lack of organization from it's top down. It's very much top down. The previous coach was Luis Fernandez, who's a bit of a celebrity in France. He's a pundit, top pundit, and obviously was a very good player in the 80s. But as soon as he came, he didn't get along with the captain, Ibrahima Traore, and Ibrahima Traore missed a few matches. That throws everything into flux. And it's the same thing with Kevin Constant, who hasn't been responding to call-ups. So you have two of their biggest players and their best players, their captains, Kevin Constant, Ibrahima Traore, not showing up. And that's obviously a big problem. Sadio Diallo of Bastia spoke about that recently in Ghanaian news. So for me, the biggest problem is top down. Now they've brought in a new coach, who's a local coach, who did very well in the 2016 CHAN. I believe he went to the semifinals and lost to the DRC. His name is Lape Kanfore Lape Bangura. So he went to the semifinals of the CHAN, and he apparently is closer to the players. People have been showing up for their call-ups now, but it seems to be too little too late for the 2018 World Cup qualifying. What's interesting about Guinea is that they've brought in Jean-Marc Nobilo, who obviously comes from France with a huge reputation, did a lot of good work at Le Havre and Auxerre, and obviously Le Havre have churned out the likes of Paul Pogba, Dimitri Payet, Mendy, Riyad Mahrez, of course. So they've brought him in as a technical director. So he's not in charge of the national team, but he's going to be in charge of formation and bringing up a lot of youth and talent. So hopefully with this new coach, this local coach, hopefully with these players responding to their call-ups, with this young defensive midfield who could be one of the most impressive in Africa, if not the world, and with Jean-Marc Nobilo in a superior position, I think Guinea they won't be able to qualify for this World Cup, but perhaps, I know they're going to be hosting an African Cup. I don't think it's 2019, but maybe 2023. I think by then, if they put in a lot of serious work, they could contend for that tournament, and that's probably what they're looking to do. So we spoke about Tunisia, we spoke about Guinea. Next, let's talk about Libya. Libya were supposed to host, I believe, the 2013 tournament, but because of obviously everything that's going on over there with the civil war, they haven't been able to play matches at home in a long time. For this qualification campaign, their coach Jalal Damja spoke to the Algerian press, and he said, "We're going to be playing all of our matches in Algeria." They hosted Tunisia here. They lost 1-0. So Libya, in the first match, they lost 4-0 to the DRC in Kinshasa. Everybody knows going to Kinshasa is extremely difficult. Very few teams can go there and come away with the result. So we weren't shocked that they lost. Yes, 4-0 is a bit steep, but you know. After that first match, Javier Clemente was fired. Jalal Damja brought in, again, a local coach, similar to what happened in Guinea. Javier Clemente is a big name in Spain, and they decided to go back to the local coach. Jalal Damja cleared out the team. 3/4 of the players that played in the second match against Tunisia hadn't played in the first match against DRC. And he brought in a lot of young players. I can think of Anis Salatu, who started as a spearhead up top. Ahmed Ben Ali, who I didn't know was actually born in England, in Manchester, but he played for Rotherham, and now he's playing in Serie A for Pescara in attacking midfield. Mohamed Mounir. You have a lot of good young attacking talent. Mohamed Zabiya, who's for me, again, one of the best strikers on the continent, playing continental football on the continent. Who I believe was at MC Oran here in Algeria last year, leading the league in scoring for a long periods of time, and now is at Esperance in Tunis. So you have a lot of exciting attacking talent, and we saw that on display in the first half against Tunisia. Really, I thought they were the better team, and they scored a goal which was wrongly disallowed for offsides. In the second half, as Libya and Guinea tend to do, they play this really promising football, and then they show this tactical naivety, and they just shoot themselves in the foot, and that's what happened. Ali Salama tackled, I believe, Yassin Takhnisi in the box, red card, you're off. And Wahabi Khazri of Sunderland, of course, Tunisia and Sunderland, scored the penalty kick. He's quite good from set pieces. So Libya are a work in progress, very much like Guinea. They have a lot of 19 to 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds in attacking midfield up to striker. They have an experienced goalkeeper in Mohamed Nashnouch. They have Ali Salama, who's an experienced defender. I just don't see how they can really, truly be any kind of contender in the next 5 years with the political instability, without being able to play any home matches, which is obviously such a big advantage here in Africa. For them, it's really going to be about trying to work with this young generation, trying to do the best that they can here in Algeria for the next 2 matches, and see what's going to happen. So also, what's interesting in this group is that now after these 2 matches, Tunisia will play the DRC twice, and Libya will play Guinea twice. So if Libya or Guinea can win 2 in a row, and they can get up to 6 points, and Tunisia and the DRC take points off each other, maybe it's not already a foregone conclusion that Tunisia or the DRC are going to go through. And that takes us to the DRC, our last team here, and they also have a local coach. So we have Guinea, we have Libya, and we have the DRC operating with local coaches, which is actually a joy to see. And Florent Bengue has probably been the most impressive African coach for the last 3 years, I would say. Of his last 21 matches, he has ridiculous statistics. Of his last 21 matches, he has only lost 2. And it started for him in 2014 when he was with AS Vita Club, you have TP Mazembe and you have AS Vita Club in the DRC in terms of club teams, and these are African heavyweights. So he was with AS Vita Club, and they went to the CAF Champions League, and they lost to ES Sétif, but still he took them to the Champions League. And then at the same time he took charge of the national team, and of course in 2015 they finished 3rd place, I believe, in the Africa Cup of Nations. And like I said, last match he lost was against Central African Republic, and it's very tough going to Bangui and playing there. And they knocked off Egypt there, they knocked off Algeria there, they knocked off the DRC there. It's very tough conditions going to Central African Republic and playing there. So it's not a big surprise that they lost there. But aside from that loss to Central African Republic, their last loss was in the semifinals of the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations to Ivory Coast. That's just ridiculous. So you have to go almost 2 years since the last time they really lost a competitive match. So what he's been able to do is attract a lot of players in the diaspora, but also mix that in with a lot of good local players because he knows the local scene well. Again, that's what we saw. I thought Libya's squad looked better in that second match against Tunisia. Guinea are not having problems with their professional players anymore because they brought in a local coach. And now Florian Bengue is integrating them quite well too. So that's a big advantage of playing with a local coach. They won't have Robert Kidiaba, the famous bum-bouncing goalkeeper who's retired now. And he's brought in a few players. They look a little bit different in defense. Gabriel Zakouani, who's played a long time in England, is the captain now. Marcel Tisserand, who was playing for Toulouse for a long time, I'm not sure if he's still playing for them. I don't think he is partnering him in central defense. You have Issama Mpeko, who's a veteran. I think he has 35 caps on the right. And Mutumbala on the left, who's a local player from Vita Club. Where the DRC really scared me a bit is you have Chancel Mbamba. I don't know if he's still playing at Newcastle in defensive midfield, but where they're really good is in attacking midfield and especially as the strikers. So Yannick Bolasie is injured. I'm not sure if he's going to be here on time for the Cup of Nations, but he'll definitely be back in time for the third match day of World Cup qualifying, which will take place in, I believe, August 2017. So you have Bolasie, you have Dieu-Merci Mbokani, who of course plays Premier League football. You have Cedric Bakambu, who's playing very well in Spain last year. I don't know how he's doing this year. You have Benica Fobi, who's a new addition to the team, again, drawn from the diaspora. And then guys like Jordan Botaka, Neskens Cabano. They're one of those teams that they have such a large talent of pool of players. They can draw from like 35 to 40 players. It's really hard keeping up with who's in the starting 11 because if anybody is just out of form or slightly injured, they can pull somebody, Bolengi, Kabananga. They can pull in anybody to replace them and they'll do a good job. So DRC have a very, very deep team. I expect them to qualify out of Group A. I expect them to just edge Tunisia out. I think Tunisia just have those tactical problems in defensive midfield. I don't think they have a striker that's in form, that's banging out goals, who you can 100% rely on. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tunisia qualify to the 2018 World Cup, but I think it's going to be the DRC. So that's a quick recap of Group A. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments or on Twitter. I'll put my Twitter in the description, and I'll try to get to them. Hope that was okay, and we'll be back with Group B in a few days. All right.